sun.
Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell makes history today as the longest-serving party leader in either party in the U.S. Senate in American history.
It's a Mitch world where I betray my party, but I stay in power anyway. I control all of the campaign money. I control all of the campaign money. Don't you know? Don't you know?
Hello. Oh, let me make us bigger. There we go. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Good. You're very loud. I have to make
Really?
you less loud. Yeah, I just make you less loud in my head. There you go. Less loud in my head. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mary Walter Radio, the podcast. As you know, this is the podcast we do on Thursdays. It is a political podcast, and usually we try to talk about stories that aren't getting a lot of attention that I think should get attention, but there are so many big stories. We're probably going to cover a lot of those during this podcast. The audio for this podcast will be up on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, usually within 24 hours of this airing. And you can always go back on YouTube, go to look up Mary Walter or Mary Walter Radio. And I don't even know, like, I got that handle on YouTube. You know, you could, and they were supposed to start personalizing them after New Year's. So I have to check and see if mine's personalized yet. But you can go back and watch anytime. Tuesdays, if you're new to this, Tuesdays we have a podcast called Life with Mary Walter, and that's all no politics. No politics. We have fun. We go off in weird directions sometimes. And based on Tuesdays, this past 2 days ago, that podcast, we're gonna have a little bit of a rule change, okay? Because that was just like a clown car of dysfunction with comments. So what I do is if you're watching on YouTube or on Getter, and Getter, I cannot unfortunately put the topics, the comments up on the screen. They don't come up on Getter, but they do come up on YouTube. And so I've been reading them for people who are listening on for the podcast, you know, the audio on Spotify or Apple. So I try to read the comments. So new rule, if your comment has nothing to do with what we're talking about, I'll put it up on the screen, but I'm not reading it out loud. Because listening to Tuesday's podcast, I needed meds by the end of it, okay?
But if you're listening,
something, it was crazy.
If you're listening on the audio only podcast and you hear me laugh out of the blue, it's probably from one of those comments.
Right.
There was a while real funny
Exactly.
out of context will just populate across the screen. Like, what? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So if it does have something to do with what we're discussing, then I will, then I'll read it out loud so that people who are listening to the audio version of the podcast can understand what the comment is about. So what we're talking about. So the first one here, because Alan Bill, if you watch this, you know that Alan Bill always tried to get in first. And today's winner is Al.
Hey, welcome, buddy.
Followed by Ron. Happy Insurrection Day Eve. Because it's the 5th. Boy, it's been a year and we still don't know who placed those bombs outside of the RNC and the DNC, which is so weird because dude was on his phone and even sat down, and there's cameras all over Washington, and they just couldn't figure out who did that. Huh? Weird.
You know, it's weird because the Ukrainians apparently, with their vaguely primitive technology, some of ours, but they can find stuff from people off cell phones real quickly and destroy them. Seemingly, we have a problem with that. That's weird, right? Like, you think we almost gave them some of that technology to do that stuff, but I don't know. It must be really hard.
Yeah, so also the January 6th committee had zero interest in finding that out or asking questions about that. I just don't understand. Bill coming in third with Tina. Ringo coming in fourth over on Getter. This is Thorne in Arizona. This is a new commentator. Says, know how weird it is running Getter and YouTube at the same time. Well, thank you for doing that. We appreciate it. If you have not subscribed to the channel on YouTube, please do so. We love you for it. And you can go back and watch past episodes. Like I said, they're all right there. And I have said it. Oh, please like the pod, like the video. But as I've said in the past, you can run several of them. Just keep going through them and just let them run. You don't have to pay any attention to them, and I'm okay with that. James. That's James. James A is watching on Getter, and he's Thorne in Arizona on Getter. So he's watching.
Good job, James.
Okay, so lots to talk about today. Lots to cover. The first thing I want to cover is what's going on with the Speaker of the House. And I know that everyone's discussing it, so it's not a story we would normally cover, but I mean, we kind of have to cover it. They're going for their 11th vote, and he's going to lose again. So what do you do? Now, let me just say, I'm watching all these people, these talking heads, Sean Hannity got into it, Lauren Boebert last night and everything. So the people who are not voting for Kevin McCarthy, they keep saying that Lauren Boebert's assertion was they had some concerns that they wanted to address. And they went to Kevin McCarthy before the midterms and said, hey, these are the things that we want to address. They want to go back to the old rules where anybody can put a motion on the floor to remove the speaker. Nancy Pelosi changed that. They want to go back to that old rule. That's one of the things. They wanted to vote on term limits. They wanted some other things. And according to Lauren Boebert, Kevin McCarthy blew them off. And she said he blew us off because he thought he was going to have a supermajority, like 240. They're going to win all these seats, right? That they were going to have more people, and the red wave was going to happen, and it didn't happen. She said, now he needs us. On the other side, though, Kevin McCarthy has met with them and has given them pretty much what they've asked for, but now they're moving the goalpost, and that's not fair, right? So that's not fair. James says, don't like McCarthy much, but he's a better choice than Jeffries. 100%. But now you have, and I'm just going through the news here because this is happening so fast. Matt Gaetz nominated Donald Trump, voted for Trump. So now they're just getting stupid. Like now they're just, and Trump told them to back McCarthy. I don't know why Trump told them to back McCarthy. I trust Ken McCarthy as far as I can throw him. I trust him more than I trust Mitch McConnell. But Kevin McCarthy, in my opinion, is a creature of the swamp. I think he sold Trump out in some ways. I don't like him for that. So I have very mixed emotions about this whole thing. I admire Democrats and how they always get in line. They vote as, they move as a block. On the other hand, I think the debate is really great. And I think having free thinkers is super great too. Not all Republicans are the same. Not the right side of the aisle are individuals, where the left side of the aisle, they're a block. It's all the same. They all go over, the edge like Thelma and Louise in the same car. Whereas Republicans don't do that. So I like that, but I don't know how this goes.
That's how it's supposed to work, right? Healthy debate. I mean, that's how it's supposed to work. Debate it out till there's no more debate, and then somebody wins.
Yeah,
that's how it's supposed to work. I mean, why are we so concerned about rushing the process? Let the process play itself out. Let them debate it out and figure it out.
Well, the concern is that there'll be a coalition, that Democrats and Republicans will get together, like those kind of towards the more moderate Republicans will get together with the more moderate Democrats, and they're going to come up with a Republican that the Democrats will vote for too. And so that Republican will win, and it'll be somebody who's like pro-amnesty and a bunch of things that the Democrats are for, and that person will win. So they have to be very careful with the game they're playing. Here's what McCarthy offered conservatives. 1-member motion threshold needed to force ousting a speaker instead of 5, because they wanted 1. He came back with 5, and then he gave them 1. So he gave them what they wanted. Okay. More Freedom House caucus members on House Rules committees. He gave them 2 seats, guaranteed. Okay. Now remember, they're only about something like 10% of the caucus, 18% of the caucus, something like that. So they're not the majority of the Republican side. So I don't think they should expect more than their quote unquote fair share of representation on committees. Makes sense. He pledges to hold votes on lawmakers' term limits and border security bills. Term limits is great. I'm glad they held out for that. To your point, right, James? That's a good one. We all love term limits, right? We like that. So I'm glad they held out for that. That's great. Major changes to the appropriations process to prevent another omnibus bill by allowing floor amendments to be offered by any lawmaker. So anybody can amend these bills. And there's also, he has since given, I saw, it would be X number of hours before they put a bill out and then they vote on it. So you can't do what they do with the omnibus and put it out at 11 o'clock at night and hold a vote at 8 o'clock the next morning. There has to be enough time to read the bill. Those are all good things, right?
How many bills, and on both sides for that matter, but I mean, how many bills were just passed without ever being read by anybody? They're just passed. I mean, I'm sure they get notes, but I don't know that that's the same thing. Getting notes and a clerk explaining to is not the same thing as reading the bill when your job is to read the bills, right? I mean, you're passing them, you should read them.
Right.
I mean, leaving time for that is super smart.
He also gave them a whole bunch of other things, something to Andrew Clyde, Lauren Boebert, Gary Palmer, Ralph Norman, Chip Roy, all these things that they want. So I kind of feel like, okay, you got a bunch of stuff. So maybe now you say, okay, let's go. Now you get together, right? Now you coalesce. Unfortunately, this had been Nancy Pelosi, this would have been done behind closed doors in December. They would have sorted this out in December.
Yep.
And then they would just go to the floor with a vote.
Was that better or worse though?
Well, no, because they would have had, they still would have done the concessions. They still could have had all these meetings. They still could have had this hashing out, but done it behind closed doors. And I think that that's better. You don't air your dirty laundry, right? So I think that that's better than the way they've done it now. But I love that they got all of these things. McCarthy has been negotiating apparently for months though with House conservatives. On Sunday, before the speaker votes, McCarthy released a rules package containing many of the victories for the House conservatives. So he's given them a lot of things: a January 6th select committee, reducing the minimum time for floor votes from 5 minutes to 2 minutes, changing the name of 2 committees, directing the ethics committee to establish a process for members of the public to flag potential violations, all sorts of stuff. A lot of it I don't understand, but it looks like he's given them a lot. So at what point do we stop the games and just say no one else is going to get as many votes as Kevin McCarthy, right? They're not going to come up with another guy who the Kevin McCarthy people support that they're going to go over to and say, oh, I support this guy.
Right, so, you're not going to get Dan Crenshaw. Like, he's never going to be Speaker of the House.
I don't like him. I've met him several times. I am not a fan.
Really?
Of Crenshaw. Yes.
No,
not a fan.
tell me that
fan.
story later, because I am fascinated by that.
I thought I would really like him. The first time I met him was in the Oval Office with President Trump.
Right.
And Liz Cheney, another one. And he was very nice. And, because the president told me to tell them, he took me by the arm and said, Mary, tell them what you told me. And I told him some stuff. And I said, hey, we'd love to have you on the show. I asked Dan Crenshaw, and he goes, oh, sure. And he gave me his card, blew us off after that. Totally blew us off. And then I saw him at CPAC. And I said, oh, yeah, we met in the Oval Office when you were first elected. We were talking. And I don't like him.
That's such a shame, isn't it?
No, not I. And I so wanted to like him. I was
I've had that experience. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Right? Oh my gosh, you're Dan Crenshaw. I'm so excited to meet you. This is so cool. And he was almost like, I felt like I was back in high school trying to talk to the quarterback of the football team who wanted nothing to do with me.
Yeah, he's sort of an alpha Navy SEAL guy. Maybe there's something to that. Maybe he's not the most charming fellow. I don't know. I want to like him too. I mean, I like some of the stances he takes. I like some of his thoughts, but
yeah, I didn't. Al says I call McCarthy a limp-wristed appeaser. Maybe, but here's the thing: you got to give and take. Even Donald Trump knew how to make a deal, and Donald Trump knew ask for a mile when you really only want a yard, because then you can get the yard and maybe a little bit more. So I didn't have a problem with Kevin McCarthy giving them some things that they wanted. Al says it's 72 hours that they'll have, not 48 hours to read the bills. Great. That's even better. 72 hours is even better. Al says half the country is in a cold war with the government. I think that's really true. Do you agree with that? I think that that's very true. I think half the country really does not like the government right now and just wants to see it all torn down.
I don't know any of those people.
Oh, James A says Jim Jordan or Byron Donalds. I don't even think Scalise wants the job. Jim Jordan said he doesn't want the job. I like Jim Jordan. I like Steve Scalise. Great guys. I've interviewed them both. Wonderful, very personable. But again, I don't care if you're a real jerk as long as you do the job right. And Jim Jordan and Steve Scalise do a great job. So they could be total jerks, and I would respect them. Don't get the same vibe. I just think I get the vibe from Dan Crenshaw. He's one of those like Kinzinger and Liz Cheney and a never Trumper type guy. I don't like him.
Yeah, I don't know that he's necessarily the biggest Trump guy. Yeah, I don't know if he's a never Trumper, but I don't think he's the biggest Trump guy.
So, do you believe that like what Al says, that half the country is in a cold war with the government?
I think we're bordering more than half. I think there's a pretty unhappy contingent of the left too. That's toward the left anarchy side. That's not happy with the government either. But yeah, I certainly think there's a large part of the, especially Trump camp of Republicans that are not happy with the country, and the out process of the Trump camp, not just Trump camp, but what that growth of that style voter. Right.
I think there's people who wouldn't vote for Donald Trump, but likes what he stands for.
Right. That's always comes the DeSantis argument again, right? It's always that loop,
exactly.
Right? Like if you don't like Trump, DeSantis is your guy. He's the Trump who knows how to speak English. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know who it's going to be. I don't have but I agree with Al. I think that we are at a point in this country where I don't know if we've seen this before, where nobody likes the government. We don't. Go ahead.
I know. I was just because you're right. You're 100% right. The people, even on the left, that aren't happy with the government, want to fix the government. Like they think they're going to be the people to be like the next communists, or so, that are going to. We'll be the new government. Where the other side is like, well, we just want more freedom. We want less government in our lives, more freedom.
Right.
I don't know what you're doing. You're getting a little close, and we want you to just back up a little bit.
Exactly. One side, that used, I always talk about Bernie Sanders, who, was a total hippie, got married in Russia, was against government, hated the man. Now he is the man, and he wants you to have a whole total opposite views that he's held his entire life.
Yeah. But it's a funny thing. You trust a guy like Bernie over Biden because at least you know that Bernie has said those same things over and over,
right?
And believes that the government should be in your life that way, and really is a true believer. I mean, you can be. I'm more okay with that. I don't always agree with a guy like that, but I can at least, trust that. Where you're gonna get a guy like Biden, who's had 95 million positions in life over his political career, like no true stances on almost anything,
Well, it's kind of like Donald Trump.
Yeah,
on both sides. People in general say, oh, I wish politicians would stop lying. I wish they would tell me the truth. Well, Bernie Sanders is honest about what he wants, and a lot of people don't like it. So's Donald Trump. Donald Trump told you exactly what he was going to do, and then did it. And people were shocked that he did what they're like, I can't believe it. Well, he said he was going to do that. So why are you surprised? They would much rather have a politician like Obama who tells them what they want to hear and then does something totally different.
Because people like a nice, charming guy.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Obama was nice and fun and charming. He's the guy I'd go out and have a beer with, right? He's the guy you'd want to shoot hoops with, but I don't necessarily want him as president. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But hey, man, if you said, hey, you want to go catch a game, I'd be like, hey, you sound like you're a blast at a football game, But yeah, I know what you mean, or basketball. I said, well, whatever. Any game. You get my point.
So here's the thing. I view it, and any women who have ever dated men, I don't know if it works the same way if you're a man dating a man. I'd much rather, ultimately, when I was younger, the guy who told you what you wanted to hear, the guy who, I'll call you and it's such a good time. Oh, I love you, babe. All that stuff is so romantic. Oh, it's great. And after a couple of those, you realize, okay, you're all yak no shack. Like you talk that this is not real, right? Because you get your heart broken and your head handed to you a couple times. You're like, all right. You wake up. So these people, especially women who grow into adulthood and keep falling for the same thing over and over and over again, fascinating to me. It's fascinating. How
many times have we said it? That's why we're here in the end, right? We let this happen. I mean,
Right.
We all know what most of these people are, and just granted, there's not a lot of great choices because good people don't want this job.
Well,
or these jobs, but.
First of all, I love Linnea here, who has us projected on a big screen TV in the garage gym with a big bass subwoofer. Thank you.
Thank you, Linnea.
But did you see Cardi B's tweet? Cardi B tweeted about how expensive everything is. Like, she has someone who, she gets an accounting every month about all the money that's spent in her household, and how, people say you're rich, but you still gotta, if you don't want your money, you could be poor really quickly. And what's this about eggs? Eggs are $7, all this other stuff. I'm like, you get the government you voted for. This is Cardi B, who sat down and promoted Bernie Sanders, you big dummy. Suddenly, now I don't expect Cardi B to be an economist like AOC is, but at least she's honest about like what the hell. And she took fire on Twitter from a lot of people who were like, so you sat down and you were promoting Bernie. You were all in for Bernie. How can you be shocked by this turn of events? Like, how can you be surprised that we're here at this point?
Look, people don't realize the countries that they love, the European sort of, borderline socialism, right? You pay 40% tax, 45% tax. Comes right out of your money. Look, but in those countries, their roads really are nice. Their schools are really well built. They're, the concession is those things that in some of those countries run really well, but even if they do, let's say they do you want to pay 45% tax? Right? Like, I mean, that's like, right. Do you want the chance to live your life and figure out how to make things better for yourself? Like we were talking about, like charities better from home, and a lot of social programs or from other things. That's a free country where, it's more of a cooperative thing. Those countries aren't like that. They're really, they're not communist, but, like, you don't know what health insurance is like when you have government insurance. I mean, saying, when the government's trapped in your life and you're paying 45% tax, that's not freedom. I mean, those are free countries, but
But here's the thing. Florida managed to get everything rebuilt after Hurricane Ian, which devastated the place, and they don't have 45% tax. They don't have any income tax. How come Florida can do it? And why does it cost over $1 million to pave a mile of road in New Jersey?
Well, corruption.
And unions, right? And unions and all this other stuff that they don't have in Europe, right? So they don't have that. So the people who are saying, oh, we should be more like Europe, don't want to make the concessions that they have in Europe. In Europe, if you're in the country illegally and you need health care, like you need some kind of care, they take care of the basics, and they will deport your butt back home where you need to go, and they will come after you for that money. Not like in this country, where we give you everything the citizen would get. You get everything. It's not just basic care. You get everything. And then you walk away and we don't come after you. Their children, illegals, are not in schools in those countries. Like everybody talks to Sweden. If you're in the country illegally, your kid doesn't go to school in Sweden.
You don't get a driver's license.
Free education. Right. But in this country, they're not willing to make those concessions, right? They want to pay for everybody, and everybody gets everything, but yet they don't want to have the same curbs on usage that they have in those other countries.
Because like most things, especially nowadays, we live in a soundbite world and people don't understand what they're talking about or what they think they're getting, right? They just don't get it. To your point, they've never lived in those countries. They've never felt what it's like to have that. They've never seen that much money come out of their checks. They've never any of that thing, right? They've never had any of that. They're living here and able to get on Facebook and yada, yada, yada. And then when it really starts to kick in, when the words radically transform the country really start kicking in, you're like, oh, hey, wait a minute. Wait a minute here. What did you mean when you said radically? I thought you just meant like, oh, we're all going to get a better ice cream or something. Like, no.
Nope. Bill asks a good question. Bill says, just curious, how many times will the House vote for Speaker? Is there a limit? There's no limit. I think the Republicans are kind of hoping that Democrats will get bored and stop showing up to just do this every single day in and day out, right? Yeah. Either that, or have you noticed the clerk in the front, the lady in the front who's running the Senate right now?
No.
And okay, if you watch her, so she's writing down, she's got a pencil and she's writing down all the votes, like tallying it up for everybody who does it. She's using a pencil, I swear, that she found in her glove compartment from the last time she played mini golf. It's about 2 inches long. And she's right. Like, couldn't somebody take $20 out of the Ukraine budget and buy that woman like a pencil? Or like, it's this big. Like, what the heck is happening? This is an interesting point from Al. He says, the administration is clearly using Cloward Piven tactics. When they bring us close enough to the point of no return, I'm afraid the Cold War will result into a shooting war. Cloward Piven being two professors from Columbia University in the 60s who said, if you want to take this country to socialism, you just have to break the economy. If you break the social services systems, if you overwhelm the social service systems, they go broke. So the government comes in and bails you out by taking everything over. You know, oh, we broke the healthcare system. Look what's happening along the border with these hospitals. There's a hospital in Yuma, Arizona, that in 6 months is $20 million in debt from all of the illegals who have come in and who need cardiac catheterizations and who have babies in the NICU for a couple of months and all this other stuff. And they don't even know who these people are. They just walk away when they get out. Like, see ya, thanks so much for the free healthcare, America, and off they go. Yeah. So you and I are on the hook for that somehow, but right now the hospital's not getting reimbursed. And if they do get reimbursed, we're paying for it. So the social services can only be stretched so far before they collapse. And then that is the excuse. That's the Cloward Piven strategy for those who do not know. Let me just check one more time to see where we are. Yeah, McCarthy, they're going to go for an 11th vote.
And they have frame? I didn't know that.
No.
This could be a month in theory.
Oh, it could go on forever. That's the problem. But here's the problem. They're not doing anything. They're not doing anything. They're not impeaching Mayorkas. They're not doing budgets. They're not going after, Jim Jordan can't go on after Hunter Biden and Jim Biden and Joe, and he can't do anything until Kevin McCarthy or someone. And I ultimately think Kevin McCarthy is going to become speaker. I just think he ultimately is going to. And at this point, I kind of think that the holdouts need to just say, okay, we got a lot of what we wanted. You're not going to get everything, and you can't expect to get everything. That's not fair. But they got a lot of what they wanted. So, okay, we got the point. Kevin McCarthy is on notice. You don't like him. A lot of people don't like him. He's on notice. And if you want to, one person can put a vote up to have him recalled. So, what more do you, why? Why are we keep doing this?
Can we get him to fix some bridges? There's a few crumbling ones in the country, it turns out.
True, but I think a lot of that is under isn't that
a lot of federal stuff
state, too. But a lot of it's federal, but a lot of it's state too. But
we help the states later. Let's get the Fed part going.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
How about we take back half the money we sent to Ukraine and do that to, make our roads and bridges safer?
Yeah, do it.
All right. Let's go to Joe Biden. Joe Biden was in Kentucky at the Brent Spence Bridge. Did you see this?
No.
Okay, so it's in Kentucky at the Brent Spence Bridge. That is a really hard name to say for me. I don't know why. Brent Spence Bridge.
That's a toughie.
So he was touting, like you're talking about, infrastructure. All right, so he was talking about infrastructure, and here's what he said. I'm gonna say the first half, and then I have audio of the second half. Are you ready?
Yes.
Our best days are ahead of us. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I've been doing this a long time, folks. Our best days are ahead of us, are not behind us. I've long said, I mean this. I have never, ever, ever been more optimistic about America's prospects, and am today. Never, never. And he followed it with this. Listen carefully.
I've traveled over 140 countries around the world. I'll paraphrase the phrase in my own neighborhood. The rest of the countries, the world's not a patch on our genes. If we do what we want to do, we need to do.
Shall I play it again?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've traveled over 140 countries around the world. I'll paraphrase the phrase in my own neighborhood. The rest of the countries, the world's not a patch on our genes. If we do what we want to do, we need to do.
That's just words away from being a Mambo dog face to banana pack. Like, what kind of word salad was that?
I don't
know. The other half of the country world? I don't know what a country world is, but
I had to read some of the comments. They're hilarious.
Yikes.
So he said, I traveled over 140 countries around the world. I was the paraphrase the phrase in my old neighborhood. The rest of the countries, the world is not a patch in our genes. If we do what we want to do, we need to do.
And I said what I said because I said what I said. I said it.
Some of the comments on Twitter are hilarious.
Sure.
Let's see. 140 countries he's been to. I'd like to see the list. Somebody said in today's he posted, this guy Buzz Patterson, in today's episode of What the Hell Did Joe Biden Just Say?
I think Sky News almost has that as a stinger. Sky News ravages him all the time.
Yeah,
they have a little crew there.
Somebody paraphrased it. they said the American Sign Language signer is going like this. Like I don't know. Hands up. I don't know anything. Somebody else said, I'd love to see the neighborhood where he grew up to see if there was a lot of lead paint. Josh Hawley's press secretary, Abigail Marone, said, it makes perfect sense if your brain is mush.
You ever see that 2008 Robin Williams clip? He's on like one of the late night shows and he's making fun of Biden for that. He's all the way back in 2008. He's talking about how Joe Biden can't put a sentence together.
No.
Yeah. Robin Williams on. I'll have to find the clip and shoot it to you one day. But oh yeah, we'll have to play it. Yeah, even Robin Williams in 2008 was making fun of Biden for not being able to put words together.
Well, somebody posted
7, 9, somewhere around there.
Somebody posted a meme of Fetterman and Biden, and Fetterman says, Shabba dabba dooba dabba goop jinner. And Biden says, chicken bite corn missile dog. So I said, this is what happens when Kamala writes your speeches.
Oh. No, that's not fair, because if she had said it, it would have been, now, I go around the world. The world is a globe. And when I go around the world, I take a plane. And a plane has wings and flies in the air. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Eric Schmidt from Missouri, his press secretary, wrote, Biden seems well rested and sharp as a tack after his vacation in the Virgin Islands.
Wow, is there film of him in the Virgin Islands? I love seeing some board shorts surfing,
No. Just go to Boca and just look at the beach and watch the old men walking up and down in their Speedos. Oh my God. I can't find it now, but somebody did Kamala Harris interpreting what Joe Biden just said. It was hilarious.
Awesome.
It was hilarious, and now I can't find it. I'm so sorry I can't find it, but it was great. It was something about the patches, and the patches are the genes, but not everyone in the world has genes. Not in all 140 countries do they have genes, but it's not about the genes. It's about the patch. It just kept saying, like same words. Oh gosh. Okay, so that was that. I'm just looking at the time and trying to get through here. Let's see what people are saying as I get off Twitter. Look at you. That's gonna how to just block somebody. There you go. Block user. Al says interstate roads are federal, so that answers that question. So the interstate roads like 95, 66, Route 66, etc. Someone said I can't figure out if Joe Biden stopped taking his medicine or he just started taking them again.
Good question. Yeah.
In the words of my old neighborhood, Uncle Joe's coming over. Let's hide everything sharp and pretend we're Puerto Ricans. Because remember, he said there were a lot of Puerto Ricans in the neighborhood. We're like, where the hell did this guy grow up? Okay. All right. So the murder of the Idaho students, those 4 students in Idaho.
Okay.
More came out today because they released the charging document was released today, right? So this is what we found out. There was a roommate identified as DM who was awake during the time of the murders. So this person's initials we just know as goes by DM. awoke at 4 a.m. on November 13th by what she thought was the sound of one of her roommates, Kaylee Goncalves, which we know she was murdered, playing with her dog on the 3rd floor. This roommate was on the 2nd floor.
Okay.
A short time later, she heard what she thought was Kaylee saying, "There's someone here." So she looked out of her 2nd floor bedroom window and didn't see anybody. So it was the 3rd floor, 2nd floor, and then there was like that hill. And then the 1st floor is where the parking lot is. And there was a roommate asleep on the 1st floor who slept through the whole thing. So this one's on the 2nd floor.
That would have been me. Yeah.
Yeah. So she opened her door when she said she heard crying coming from Xana Kernodle's room on the 2nd floor, same floor as hers. And she heard a male voice saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." Now, a security camera located on a property just 50 feet from Xana Kernodle's bedroom captured what is being called, according to the document, distorted audio of what sounded like voices or a whimper followed by a loud thud at 4:17 a.m. And it also caught a dog barking several times. So DM opened her door again and saw, quote, "a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. The male walked past DM as she stood in, quote, a frozen shock phase. He walked by her and exited the 2nd floor sliding glass doors." So either he didn't see her or he just walked past her and let her live. It's very odd. So she locked herself in her room. A 2nd female roommate who was on the 1st floor slept through the attack. Nearly 8 hours later, a call was placed to the police from one of the surviving roommates' cell phones reporting an unconscious person. So I have a question here.
Go ahead.
If you're in a house with roommates in college and you think you hear your roommate down the hall crying and you hear a man saying, "Don't worry, I'm going to help you," and then you see a man walk past you in a mask, a black mask, dressed in black, and goes out the back door, would you call the police or would you wait a good 8 hours before you call the cops?
Well, I would just assume he was unvaccinated. That's why he was wearing the mask. You know, he's protecting himself. So I'd let him go. You know, I'd be like, "Well, you're fine." Tracks.
But don't you think you would go down the hall to see what was wrong with your roommate who you thought was crying?
Unless she sat there in a panic closet for 8 hours going, "Oh God." I don't know. I mean,
But
I would have. Yeah.
If you're in a closet panicked, wouldn't you get on your cell phone and dial 911?
Yeah, of course.
So there's a missing piece here for me. And
Yeah.
we may not know everything because of
Just
it's just the
details.
charging document, right? So we may not know everything. But I was like, wait. And nobody was asking that question. Like, why is no one asking this question about why she just like went back to bed or just crawled under the bed? What?
Yeah.
I'd be dialing 911 so fast.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the probable cause affidavit, not the charging. The probable cause affidavit was unsealed today. Now, Kohlberger allegedly left behind, the killer allegedly left behind did leave behind a tan leather knife sheath lying on the bed next to Mogan's right side, who was on the 2nd floor. That was the guy who was in bed with what's her face, Kaylee Goncalves. Let's see. The sheath had K-bar and a U.S. Marine Corps eagle, globe, and anchor insignia stamped on the outside of it. The Idaho State Lab later located a single source of male DNA left on the button snap of the knife sheath.
Uh-oh.
Now, Xana Kernodle, who was on the same floor as DM, who supposedly heard everything, appeared to be the only resident of the home that was awake when she was ambushed. She received a DoorDash order at 4 a.m. and was on TikTok at approximately 4:12. Now, the roommate who heard everything awoke at 4 a.m. when she heard everything upstairs.
Yeah.
And so the DoorDash guy had to like just miss all of this, right?
Well, that's some luck for the DoorDash guy.
So the bodies were found on the third floor of Mogan's bed. Two of the bodies, Goncalves and Mogan, were found on the third floor between 4 a.m. and 4:25. She got a DoorDash order at 4 a.m. and she's on TikTok at 4:12, and at 4:17 was when the other chick woke up.
That's some crazy numbers.
Uh-huh. A footprint identified as a Vans type shoe was found outside the second floor sliding door. Now, Kohlberger was allegedly captured on surveillance video fleeing the scene in his white Hyundai Elantra about 4:20. So it was fast.
Yeah.
Around
He went in, did
4:20.
his thing and out. Yeah.
So, and one of the police officers, when they saw the direction that the car was going, and said he's going to Washington State, knowing the direction because he was heading towards Washington. But he returned to the crime scene a little after 9 a.m., 3 hours before police were called to the house. That's all we know, but we don't know why. We don't know how they know that. That's all we know.
Yeah, maybe they're not telling us for a very specific reason, but
which may explain why she waited 8 hours. I don't know why. That doesn't explain why you wait 8 hours, because that means he came back 5 hours later. A little after 9 a.m. That afternoon, he was also captured on surveillance video footage doing some shopping at the grocery store in the Pullman area, and cell phone records reveal that he had likely been surveilling their home for weeks.
Ugh.
And James A. posted here, he said, "Did you hear they used cell tower pinging to find the guy?" But it's a cell tower, so he may not have been, like, that just gets things in a radius. So he may not have been surveilling them particularly. He could have just been in that area, So now, listen to this. On November 25th, police told local law enforcement to be on the lookout for a white Hyundai Elantra spotted near the crime scene. 4 days later, a Washington State University police officer identified Kohlberger's car and alerted the Moscow Police Department. So they never told us that. We never knew that, right? We just said, if you have any information about this Elantra. In the meantime, a Washington State University cop said, hey, there's a guy here who has a white Hyundai Elantra, and notified the police.
Right.
So now they start looking, right? So now they're looking for this guy, right? Now they're trying to see where he is, etc.
Right.
At some point, one of the officers who wrote in an affidavit, Moscow police officer Brett Payne wrote, viewed Kohlberger's Washington State driver's license and noted that his photo matched the surviving roommate's description of the killer's bushy eyebrows and other attributes. So they knew they had a little piece of DNA on the knife casing, right? But whose is it? On December 27th, agents went to the family's home and they fished through the family's trash and sent carefully selected scraps of waste to the Idaho State Lab. The next day, the lab reported that the DNA profile obtained from the trash matched the profile from the knife sheath left at the crime scene.
Dum. Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said that was a marine knife sheath, right? You said it had like a marine.
So it had that on the sheath. Yeah, the marine.
Yeah, the sheath. Yeah.
James says, Mary, you leave your location on and the pinging can put you outside the door of a home. Oh, okay.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
That's why I keep my location off. And this guy was supposedly like getting his master's or PhD in criminology, and he made this many mistakes.
It does seem pretty dumb, right?
If he is the killer. That's why I kind of question a little bit.
Yeah.
So the other theory is that the cops knew a lot sooner who they were looking for. And did you notice he got stopped on his drive to Pennsylvania by the cops, right?
Yeah.
And there's a theory going around, and I think this was Jessica Tarlov on the 5, so I have to give her credit. Yesterday said they stopped him on purpose because the body cam footage, they wanted to see like his demeanor, how he would act when they stopped him, and they could see his hands to see if he had any defensive wounds, any wounds on his hands. And apparently his right hand, there was some kind of wound and a swollen area on a knuckle. But so they stopped him purposely because they knew, like, this is the guy that we think it is. So how are we going to find out, because they were saying, oh, well, they're gone, whoever the killer was, because one of them fought back. Xana fought back, if he has any kind of scratches on his face or any kind of wounds like that. So they were following him, and they had the cops stop him. Oh, you're following a truck too closely.
Right. Oh, yeah. They'll always come up with something. Yeah.
And then they get body cam footage right in the car, and they could see his demeanor and everything like that. So while everybody was thinking that these cops were like the Keystone Cops, it was like this small town, they were unprepared to do this. How were they going to? They had it all buttoned up, because what do we keep hearing? Oh, there were people in and out of the house. They got rid of the tire tracks are all gone, all this other stuff. They did a great job, it sounds like.
Seems like it.
Unless this guy's not the guy, in which case they got to start all over again.
Right. Back to Keystone Cops.
But it sounds like they've crossed all their T's and dotted all their I's. I mean, they got DNA from the parents' garbage can. Your garbage can's full of DNA.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and so they went to the parents' house to match it. Because remember, we kept hearing, everybody kept thinking that they went to like 23andMe.
Right.
And got a match from one of those. No. They went to the parents' house.
Yep. Pulled it out of some garbage.
Went through the garbage and got a couple of pieces of carefully selected items and said, oh, look, the same DNA. So how does a guy who's studying criminology, who's so into it, who's so into the mind of a killer, like that was the angle he wanted to go into. That's what he loved. He was writing to all these serial killers in jail, and asking them all these questions. How does he make so many mistakes?
Well, I'll put it in a saying I heard a long time. What do you call a person who graduates last in his class in medical school?
Well, doctor.
Yeah, this guy's maybe not good at what he does, what he wants to be, right? He may love this stuff, he just may not be good at it,
What do you call someone who goes to doctorate in English? Dr. Jill Biden.
That's right. That's right. This guy may love criminology, he may be real into it. And man, I've been watching Criminal Minds for years. I got this stuff down. Nope. Maybe not.
Because he apparently did wear gloves.
Yeah, well, that's pretty basic.
But I guess when he hooked the knife sheath on, he didn't have his gloves on, and he snapped it closed, and it must have come off upstairs.
Rookie mistakes. Yep.
And maybe that's why he returned to the crime scene at 9. But they know he returned at 9 a.m. that morning.
When you watch game shows, you ever see like really smart people bomb on a game show, like Jeopardy or something? They're geniuses, but they still don't, because it's all the gameplay that you're not doing, right? You may know a lot about what not to do, but then you've also never murdered somebody, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's gameplay is really the crude word to put that. You know what I mean? Like it's all the stuff you can't account for when you're not experienced.
Right. It's like they do really, really well on Shakespeare plays, but can't handle 80s music.
Exactly right. Or you're not fast enough pushing the button, or it's all these little things
right.
You can't. I know a lot, but you can't train for that.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Where an assassin, just disappears.
James says it's because he didn't watch the TV show Forensic Files. They show you all the mistakes others made.
Yeah.
And not that I would ever want to murder somebody, because I can't even imagine.
Me either.
I get upset when one of my cats gets hurt. Like, so I can't even imagine like watching a human. I think that it's just such an uncontrollable situation. You don't know how anybody is going to react. He probably did not think Xana was going to be awake. Maybe because Xana was awake is why he left and didn't touch anybody else in the house. Maybe that is why, because she made a ruckus, and so he wanted to get out of there. Who knows?
Right.
Maybe it was the DoorDash guy, who somehow surprised him or something. You don't know.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't think you can ever commit the perfect crime, because it involves other people and you can't control other people. So you can't really, come up with the perfect crime.
Yeah, it's true. It is
But
hard.
it sounds like they have a really good case.
Yeah. They went from looking bad to looking really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Let's go through here. All right. And don't forget, if you can download the audio on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, please like them. Please, if you want to watch again, you can watch old episodes on YouTube here. Just look for Mary Walter or Mary Walter Radio. Tuesday night is our non-political podcast. Same time, you watch the same way, listen the same way on Tuesdays at 7:15 Eastern. And coming up, I will tell you my upcoming schedule. I will be on Newsmax on your television this weekend twice. Tina says, I get dizzy when I see James at the dentist when he bleeds. I can never be a serial killer.
I ain't buy that.
Why would anybody be in the room when someone else is in the dental chair?
She held my hand. I get scared.
Seriously?
I get real scared at the dentist. Only the dentist.
Lord.
Oh,
Hit you with the Valium.
Oh God. Yeah.
Valium blow dart.
Oh yeah. That's a great idea.
All right. So in Florida, it seems that they're prosecuting people who break the voting laws. Although there is no voter fraud, so I'm not quite sure how this is happening.
It's never happened.
But a guy named Mark Crump is 54 years old, and he pleaded guilty to 2 counts of voter fraud last year. He has since been sentenced to 10 months in prison.
Wow.
Yes, he is a registered sex offender. He registered to vote in June of 2020 and voted in the August 2020 primary, as well as the November 2020 general election. He was convicted of manslaughter in 93, later convicted in 2004 for lewd and lascivious molestation. After serving time in prison, he applied to regain his voting rights in Florida. He was eventually sent a voter registration card in the mail. And according to prosecutors, he registered as a Democrat to vote in June of 2020. Just before the August primaries, where he voted early, vote early, vote often. He again voted months later in the November 2020 general election for Joe Biden. We're assuming, since he's a registered Democrat. He said he was confused about Florida's law, which was approved in November 18 by voters, that restored the voting rights to 1.5 million felons, but excluded those convicted of murder and sex crimes.
Except this guy.
And except for him. And yes, he was sent a voter registration card in the mail. This is the problem with everybody being sent a ballot in the mail. People are like, well, they sent me a ballot. They must want me to vote, right? It's on you, though. And election officials, though, say he lied about his felony conviction on his voter registration. So that's how they got him.
Plus, he kept voting only on school bills. So,
Well, no, but he voted in the general election.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh.
School bills, pedophile.
James says they're certainly going to be busy in Broward County for a while. Yes, they are. Okay. One more Florida story.
Oh.
The Polk County Sheriff's Office say that 23-year-old Martin Gonzalez Garcia and 22-year-old Ashia Liz Roldan Ocasio were in the process of burglarizing a home on December 29th when one of them called 911 to ask for help with moving some of the belongings.
Oh, what a rookie mistake, huh?
Martin stated on a recorded statement he did commit the burglary at the Dollar General because he needed to get items to sell them to make money. He stated he knew what he did was wrong, but he needed the money. He stated he knew the residence was not his and he did not have permission to be in the residence, but he had to get inside to get out of the cold. She, Ashia Liz Roldan Ocasio, told deputies that she called 911 in order to have law enforcement move items from the house, which they burglarized. According to the sheriff's office, deputies did help them with their belongings, and they did give them a ride, but it wasn't to the airport. It was to the Polk County Pokey, and they are welcome to stay there all weekend long. The Polk Pokey is much better than New York anyway. Apparently, these guys are from New York. They're charged with burglary of the residence and burglary and theft, etc. So
I was trying to sell some cocaine and moonshine, and my client stole my money and moonshine and coke. Can you help me, officer? Yeah, I'm like,
I love
really?
those calls.
Why would you? Yeah, I did actually see one where a guy did come in his house and he said stole all his weed and bowls.
Yeah.
And he left some like paraphernalia around. The cops were like, you could just see the look on their faces, like, like I didn't want to have to arrest you, man. Now I got to arrest you.
Yeah, idiot.
Oh my weed.
Yeah. So do you have anything else that you want? Let's see. Linnea, following since day one, saw the first live press conference. This is the Idaho murder. They were on it. Very few questions could be answered due to developing case. They're very good. I'm so proud of them. She's from Washington State, Linnea is.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add here before we get going? Because the cats have arrived. I've got Oliver's on the table. Grace is sitting in a chair staring at. Where's that Grace? Sitting in a chair staring at me like.
It's one of our long listeners' birthday, Miss Rachel.
Oh, is it Rachel's birthday?
Birthday.
Oh, happy birthday!
Go Pitbull! Happy birthday!
Oh, I wish I had a birthday song to play for her. I wish I had.
Happy birthday to you!
You should have told me. We could have played something for her.
Somebody reminded me.
Hold on. Hang on.
I mean, I knew it was her birthday, but it didn't click in until somebody reminded me. Like, oh, right.
Wait, we could play Joe Biden wishing her happy birthday.
Traveled
Hold on,
over
right here.
140 countries around the world. I'll paraphrase the phrase in my own neighborhood. The rest of the countries, the world's not a patch on our genes. If we do what we want to do, we need to do.
That sounded like a birthday greeting. I don't know what it meant or what he was saying, but that could have been a birthday greeting. Yeah, happy birthday from Joe Biden. What do you think?
Oh, Al's birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday to you, Al.
That's right. Happy birthday.
Nice. My sister-in-law's birthday was 2 days ago.
Happy
and
birthday.
Then I have another sister-in-law and a brother-in-law's birthday coming up the 9th and the 10th.
Ooh,
so a lot of
getting
early
busy.
January birthdays.
Getting busy.
So, all right, speaking of busy. So Saturday, I will be on, what's the name of this show? Saturday Agenda with Kilmeny Duchart,
Right.
on Newsmax. 1:45 Eastern time. All right, 1:45 in the afternoon. And at 4:30, I will be on the Wendy Bell Show. The Wendy Bell Show replays throughout the weekend at various times. You can watch it 3:30. This is all Eastern, 3:30 Eastern on Sunday. And then I believe it's on again at 6 a.m. Monday morning. So the Wendy Bell Show will replay several times. Does this weekend news show, Saturday Agenda, probably does not air again on Sunday because it's called Saturday Agenda.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, probably. James A. say listening to Biden bumble along is like trying to sing the alphabet with the letters all shuffled out of order.
AFQB4 X3 BCDQ RVP.
And Al is 67 years young now. Hey, Mazel Tov. Congratulations, Al. Good for you.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself, sir. So that's what I will be doing. And then, of course, on Monday, I will be on the Chris Salcedo Show between 4:30 and 5 o'clock Eastern, also on Newsmax TV. So 3 Newsmax hits, 2 on Saturday, 1 on Monday at 4:45, and Tuesday is Live with Mary Walter at 7:15, and you can watch the same way you do here. Audio from this podcast will be up within 24 hours, hopefully. Fingers crossed, on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And as we said, feel free to go back to the old episodes, download them. You can go to YouTube and watch them if you'd like. We appreciate you all for doing that. It's really fantastic, and it means a lot to us. So thank you for doing that.
Tell a friend.
Yes, I always forget to say tell a friend.
Tell a friend.
Tell a friend. And the song parodies at the beginning of the show are all done by Jim Gossett Comedy, 2 S's, 2 T's, and you can find him on YouTube. Jim Gossett Comedy. The man is insanely talented.
Yeah.
Any big plans for the weekend before we go?
Yeah, I'm going to one of my close friends. She has normally around Thanksgiving a Friendsgiving that had to be delayed, and so we're going to do it a little late this year, and we're going to go hang out with some friends. I think it's going to meet a whole bunch of new friends.
Nice.
Nice. Be good.
We're going out with friends Saturday. My orthopedic surgeon who scraped, helped deal with my broken leg in March on a mountain in Montana. They moved, bought a new house a year ago, and she's totally redone it.
Nice.
So we're going to go see that. And then we're going out to dinner, just like a casual dinner on
Spend
Saturday.
some time after everybody being so busy.
Yeah, kind of relaxed. But we're trying to keep it to like one thing on a weekend. Like we're trying to keep it to like tomorrow we'll go to our local bar, have a beer, and that's it. Trying to.
One last thank you. I should thank some friends of the family who were really nice to give us a couch, which was nice. And I'm picking that up on Friday. And then we were short a dresser, and an old friend from high school was like, "Hey, I got a dresser for you." Yeah.
Nice.
Yes. So
Look up this way. I have like a table I could give you if you want it. It's a marble top table. It's round, marble top.
Huh. We'll have to talk off air about that.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I was going to put it out by the curbs, but if you want it. It's a long way to go to get it, though. May not be worth it.
You have no idea how much this one loves the car.
Especially when she's not driving. So.
Right.
All right.
We should go to the far spot.
All right, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend. Catch me on Newsmax, and we will see you Tuesday here for Life with Mary Walter. Have a great one. Bye.
Goodbye.
There is a louse that you have seen, and this louse is biting sun. If Hunter told the truth about Pop, the big guy would be done. Now Hunter